So, good evening, everyone. It's good to have you all here live. We are talking a little bit more about training this week. Recently, we've done a lot of mindset work, and we've done a lot of nutrition talk as well, because most of you, not all of you, but I would say 90% of you guys that are here, your goal is fat loss. Because mindset and nutrition is such a huge component of that, I'd say it's about 80% of the journey. We end up talking a lot about that. But that's not to say that working out, exercising, training, weightlifting isn't important as well. So we're going to dive into this a little bit more today. And we're going to talk about progressive overload. This might be a term that some of you guys have never heard before. If you haven't, that's totally okay. So we're going to go through and explain what that actually is, because progressive overload as a concept is the absolute fundamental of your training when it comes to lifting weights. So I really want to break it down and make it as easy to understand as I can, because you guys will be able to attack your workouts with such a great intensity, really learn about how to train in a way that's really effective for you and your goals. But it's also something that you can just have forever as well. It's something that you can take forwards with you forever. So I think my screen is all shared. So I'm going to dive straight in. First things first, today's goal. So I want you guys to understand the concept of progressive overload. Like I said, this might be a new term for some of you guys. If it is, if you guys are new here, that's totally okay. You're going to know exactly what it is by the time this call is done. And I want you to know how to apply it easily and focus on just getting stronger every single week. You guys are all here because you have physical goals that you want to achieve, but performance in the gym and getting stronger is also something really incredible to work towards. So I'm going to teach you guys how to really attack your workouts with the right frame of mind, the right focus, and the right intensity. So before we do that, I want to do a recap on why strength training works and why Adam and I are so passionate about getting as many people to lift as possible, and why it is so good, not just for fat loss, not just for changing our bodies, but for our health as a fundamental as well. So when it comes to fat loss, the reason why it's so good is that it burns fewer calories during a session, but it burns far more calories over time if you are someone that's lifting weights. The more muscle you build, the higher your resting metabolism becomes. So your metabolic rate at rest, you end up just burning way more calories when you're resting. That's why when you start to lose fat and build muscle, and when you start to get stronger and have a lot more muscle mass on your body, you end up being able to eat more calories, like your maintenance calories and what you can eat in a day goes up. That's because you have more muscle and you're burning more energy at rest. So strength training really helps. It helps you to preserve and build muscle in a calorie deficit. And as well as burning fat and helping you to be really effective at that by increasing your metabolism, it really helps you to build that tone defined shape that all of us are looking for. Cardio alone can't do that. You'll drop fat, but you won't really see your body change and sculpt and recomp in the way that you want it to. Strength training and weightlifting exactly why you want to do that. A kilogram of muscle burns about 13 to 15 calories a day on average. Obviously, it varies slightly, but on average, it burns that. Whereas fat, a kilogram of fat only burns about four. So that gives you context there on why having more muscle means that you're better at burning calories and burning energy, basically. People who strength train 3 times a week on average as well maintain weight loss 40% more effectively than the people who do only cardio. That is pretty crazy. That's almost half, which is mental. If you think about how much more progress and how much easier it makes the process for you rather than just relying on cardio or not focusing on your training, that's also some context for you. It is also incredible for our health. I know not all of you guys, most of you are, but I know not all of you at the moment are actively losing fat. So it's also incredible for our health, for men and women. It prevents muscle mass sarcopenia as we get older. It prevents osteoporosis. For all the women, it helps us when we get older and we develop and going into perimenopause and menopause. It helps with our symptoms and alleviates those symptoms and makes us live more comfortably. And regardless of who you are, it also massively helps to reduce your chance of getting basically a horrible disease. Things like Alzheimer's, dementia, cancer, diabetes, heart disease, lung disease, all of these diseases, you significantly reduce your chance of contracting anything like that, even if it's something that's considered hereditary in your family. So that's pretty amazing. And that's why I am so passionate about making sure that you guys are all lifting. It's not enough to say, I don't like lifting weights. It's just not enough to say that. Just because you don't like it, it's not a reason for you not to do it. It is an absolute fundamental for your health. Every single person on the planet, no matter what their goal is, who they are, what walk of life they come from, we all should be lifting weights and doing some form of resistance training. Pilates isn't enough either. It needs to be weightlifting. That's why it's so fundamental. So now that we've covered that, let's dive into why strength training is actually so good. Why strength training works as well is because your body needs to adapt. When you challenge your muscles, your body repairs them, they become stronger, and they become more capable the next time. So when we talk about progressive overload specifically, if your challenge, i.e. your workout, the weight you're lifting, if it stays the same forever, your body just stops adapting and you stop making progress. That's why you hear a lot of people say, oh, I lift 4 times a week and I've been doing it for 6 months, I've seen no progress. It's because they're not applying progressive overload. And that's what we're going to talk about mainly in the bulk of the call today. So let's dive into that. So, in really simple terms, in kind of layman's terms, progressive overload simply means you're gradually increasing the challenge placed on your muscles over time. Gradually increasing the challenge or gradually increasing the stress placed on your body and on your muscles over time. In very simple terms, it means that last week's efforts become easier. So this week we want to increase the challenge or increase the stress slightly. It's about making small incremental improvements every single week. They might feel really small in the moment, they might feel really insignificant, but doing that week on week and keeping consistent gives you huge results over time. Even just increasing your weight and applying progressive overload by adding a kilo a week, it seems so tiny and so small in the long term, in the short term, sorry, but long term, huge, huge, huge gains, huge strength gains. So the biggest mistakes that people make when it comes to weightlifting is that they are doing the exact same workout every week, the exact same weight, the exact same reps, the same effort, the same workouts even for months and months on end. When I hear someone saying they've been doing the same workouts for 6 months, already I've kind of got alarm bells ringing because your body's going to have adapted to that so quickly. You're going to be really not making the most of your time in the gym and not challenging your body at all if you've been doing the same stuff for months on end. Progressive overload, making it more challenging week on week in a very small amount, ensures that your body keeps improving. You get the physical transformation that you want, but you keep getting stronger as well. You keep building muscle and you get all those incredible health benefits that I just talked about at the start of the call. There are four very simple ways to progress. So, again, if you haven't heard of progressive overload before, or maybe you've heard of it and you're a bit confused what it is, you can apply progressive overload in four main ways. And this is what we do with you guys in this program. The first one is increasing your weights very slightly. And I want to make that really clear. Whenever I see people in the gym, if I'm training on my own, obviously I'm in my own zone. If I see people whacking up the weight week on week by 10 kilos and adding it on, that is a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for injury. And it's way too much, way too soon. So you want to increase your weight, and that's the main way to do it, but very small incremental amounts so that you keep good form and that you don't injure yourself. The next time is to increase your reps. Some of you guys will see that some weeks you'll have rep ranges in your phase. So, for example, if we give you 8 to 10 reps, sometimes we give you rep ranges, sometimes we don't. If we just give you 8 reps for the 6 weeks, that means we want you to aim to add a bit of weight on each week. If we've given you a rep range, you can either add a bit of weight on or you can work to the upper end of that rep range that we give you. It varies depending on what we've given you, what rep range we've given you. The third way is to improve your technique or improve your control. Another big mistake, people just smashing through their reps, having absolutely zero control and not thinking about their technique at all. It's not about ego lifting. It's not about whacking on as much weight as possible that builds muscle. It's actually having control over your reps, having good form, getting a really good range of motion, getting low and getting rising upwards, whatever movement you're doing. That really good range of motion and that control builds a lot more muscle a lot faster over time. The fourth way is just increasing your effort or RPE. I will explain what RPE means in a second if you don't know what that is, that's okay. But it's just increasing your effort as well, increasing the intensity. Now, in order to get stronger in the gym, to build muscle, to burn fat, you do not and should not really increase all four of these at once, unless you're having just one of those incredible days where you're like, I feel so strong, I feel so good, I'm in the zone. You don't have to increase all of four of these every single week all the time. You just need to aim to work on improving something week on week, one of those four. I'm going to give you an example of progressive overload. So let's say, for example, your workout has given you a rep range of 8 to 10 in there, or 10 to 12 for this example. So that would mean week one, for example, let's say you start off with 10 kilos. 10 kilos, 10 kilograms is what you select. Week one, you would aim to do the lower end of the rep range, 10 reps with that 10 kilo weight. That's week one, ticked. When you'd come back to week two, what you would then do is you would stick at the same weight that you've got, but you would aim to work to the upper end of the rep range that you've been given. So if you've been given 10 to 12, you're going to try and do the same weight, but now you're going to try and add on 2 reps to your sets. That's week two, ticked off. That will get you really good results and get you really good progress. Week three, when you come back, you would then want to aim to increase your weight slightly. So we had a 10 kilogram dumbbell. We're now reaching for the 12 kilo dumbbell because that's the next one up. So you've added on 2 kilos. You're going to come back, you're going to make the weight heavier, but then go back down to the lower end of the rep range. So back down to 10 reps. Week three, ticked off. The reps have gone back down, but you've increased the weight significantly. Then week four, vice versa, the same cycle repeats. You would come back, you'd use the same weight, but then you'd work back to the upper end of that rep range, back to that 12. That is how you build strength gradually, week by week, and that is progressive overload explained very simply. It's either adding on a tiny little bit more weight, or it's coming back in and adding on a couple more reps if you've been given a target and a range. As well as you can also increase the intensity, or you can improve your technique or your control. So that's how you build strength gradually week by week, and that's that broken down really simply. And I hope that makes sense for you guys. So I've talked about effort and RPE. Understandably, a lot of you guys probably won't know what that is. So I'm going to explain that as well. RPE is just a scale that we use to let you guys know what effort we want you to be lifting at. So RPE stands for rate of perceived exertion, and the scale that we always use is 1 to 10. It measures and it lets you know how hard each set that you're doing should feel. So I want you to think of it like this. If we give you RPE 10, which is incredibly rare, RPE 10 is max effort, pushing your set all the way to failure. You physically couldn't do another rep. Like if you did another rep, you'd be a heap on the floor from being so tired. That's 10 out of 10. We don't often do that because you do not have to go to failure every single set, nor should you be in order to have success. I'll talk about that more in a second. So if that's 10 out of 10, an RPE 9 out of 10 would be you've got one rep left in the tank and literally just one. You think you could squeeze out one more rep with good form. RPE 8 would be you feel like you've got 2 reps left. RPE 7 would mean you feel like you have about 3 left in the tank. Most of your training when it comes to lifting weights, building muscle, losing fat, getting stronger, most training sits around the 7 to 9 RPE. You'll notice that I haven't put 10 in there. It means that you're working hard, but you're not failing every single set. And that is really key. You do not have to go to failure for every single set, nor should you be. The reason for that is you'll just send your central nervous system into overdrive. If you're turning up to every workout every week, pushing to complete failure every set, you will burn out really fast. You will not get stronger very fast over a long period of time because you'll basically just be really exhausted if you are truly going to failure all the time. And also the risk for getting injured is very, very high. And obviously, we don't want any of those things. We want this to be enjoyable for you, challenging, yes, but sustainable and something you can keep coming back to. So that's why we never really put you at RPE 10. We might do it every once in a while on like 1 or 2 sets. That's just so that you can really get a feel for what failing a rep feels like and what going to failure actually feels like. It's good to do that occasionally, very occasionally, so that you actually can start to feel what a 10 out of 10 feels like. But that's the only reason why we'd put that in. And you don't have to push to failure every single set. And it's not something that I often program. Why does RPE matter? Why does it matter? It's a scale that we use, like I said, 1 to 10, so that we know and that you know you're training at the right intensity. If your RPE is too low, if you're more sitting at like a 4 or a 5 or even a 6, you're not challenging your muscles enough. You're not going to build very much muscle, or your progress is going to be very slow. But if your RPE is always 10, like I said, recovery becomes incredibly difficult, burnout becomes very likely, and injury becomes increasingly more likely as well. So the sweet spot is that 7, 8, possibly a 9, like I mentioned, challenging but controlled. Challenging but controlled and managed. So here's how what I want you guys to think about when you are training with us. How to apply your progressive overload to your workouts weekly. Every week, I want you to ask yourself, this week, can I add 1 or 2 reps on if I've got a rep range in my workouts? Or can I add a very small amount of weight? Or can I improve my control and my technique? Or last week, if I'm being really honest with myself, was I pushing at kind of like an 8 out of 10 RPE? Do I really feel like, no, I could have only physically done 2 more reps? Or were there a few more left in the tank? That's what I want you to ask yourself throughout the week. And I want you to kind of pick one per exercise and focus on that. Like I said, not all four at the same time because that would be chaotic. It also doesn't have to be every single exercise every single week. But even the smallest progress on a couple of exercises here and there every week really counts, and strength is built gradually. Muscle building takes even more patience than fat loss does, particularly for women as well. Because as women, we build muscle slower compared to guys. But for all of us, regardless of our gender, muscle building requires even more patience than fat loss. Fat loss requires a lot of patience, of course, but muscle building takes even longer. It takes a long period of time. It takes a lot of dedication and a lot of consistency. So it's something that's built very gradually. And that's why in the moment, adding on one more rep or two more reps, or working on your form a bit more and controlling your rep more, or even adding on 1 or 2 kilos will feel so insignificant every time. But those little changes really get you incredible results. And it's about zooming out and having that bigger picture of this feels like I'm not doing very much in the moment, but it will pay off massively. I've just got to kind of be in this for the long game. And that's why this process is kind of tough. So, common mistakes with strength training that stop progress. First of all, not tracking workouts. If you don't know what you lifted last week, how on earth are you going to know what to lift week to week? People that just turn up without a plan, that haven't tracked their weights, don't know what they lifted last week, it's going to be very hard for you to remember. Even if you think you've got the best memory in the world, you won't remember if you're doing 3 workouts a week, living your life, going to work, looking after your family, and like you're not going to remember your weights just naturally in your head. If you're not logging it somewhere, not writing it down, it's very, very hard to improve it every week. The next thing, common mistake, is rushing your rest times. So, ignoring the rest times that are on there. We'll talk about this a bit more in a second, but your rest times that we have programmed for you in there, in your workouts, are absolutely crucial and they're for a reason, and it's a part of strength training. A lot of people get a bit impatient, or maybe they rush for time. They start their next set way too soon, like resting less than 60 seconds, wondering why they're not getting stronger every week and wondering why they're feeling injured. Rushing rest times is a really big mistake that I see a lot of people making. And it limits the amount of weight you can lift as well because you haven't had enough time to let your body recover between sets. So you're not going to be able to lift as much in your next set. The next one is stopping your sets too early. If every set feels really easy and you're just kind of breezing through, and you know deep down, you know in your gut when you're not fully pushing. Like I always know that. I've been training for a long time now. I know if I come out of a session, I'm like, I took the piss a bit on that. I kind of coasted that session. I wasn't focused. I was on my phone a lot. I definitely could have pushed heavier, and I wasn't lifting at an 8 out of 10 RPE. I could have done 4 or 5 reps. If every set is coming away feeling fairly easy, your muscles are not being challenged enough to grow. This matters more and more and more the more experienced you get with lifting as well, the more advanced you get with lifting. It matters even more because the longer that you lift for, progress slows down when it comes to strength building and muscle building as well. Number 4 is just being too scared to push close to failure as well. Like I said, you definitely don't need to fail every set and be a puddle on the floor at every single work at the end of every single strength session, but your muscles do need to be challenged. So it's about having that conversation of, am I really pushing and only leaving 2 reps or 3 reps in the tank? Probably not. I could have pushed more. Being afraid to push near to that close to failure is very normal in the beginning if you're quite new to lifting weights as well. But that's a big common mistake as well. The next one is just never increasing your weight and never increasing your reps as well. Just repeating the exact same workout every week. It really stops your progress. I think a lot of people do this because they end up getting very comfortable, and it feels nice. It feels comfortable to be like, I'm in my routine. I turn up, I lift the same weights, I do the same workout week after week after week. For you guys, we give you 6 week phases. Sometimes we might make them slightly longer, sometimes we make them slightly shorter, but it's always going to be about 6 weeks, depending on each person individually. 6 weeks at a minimum. Because if we just do the same workout all the time, your body ends up not being challenged and it doesn't get you the result. So that's why, even if sometimes they're like, oh God, I've got a new phase, it's a bit scary, it's the best thing for you and it's the best thing for your health and it's the best thing for your results as well, because you need to keep trying different exercises and challenging your body in different ways. Our body is so clever and it adapts so easily, so we have to keep challenging it. So that's another big mistake. And the next thing, number 6, is chasing exhaustion with weightlifting instead of progression. Weightlifting is a very different way of training compared to cardio. Cardio, obviously, if you're working on your cardiovascular fitness, you're going to feel sweaty, you're going to feel tired, and you're going to be kind of a puddle on the floor at the end of that workout, of course. But weightlifting is very different. That doesn't mean to say you're not going to feel tired at the end of your stretch session. Like you still want to work hard, but sweating, panting, and being out of breath doesn't mean a strength workout was effective. It varies very much. There might be some days where you sweat more on a workout and you think, oh, I must have trained harder. You sweat more in the summer compared to the winter. Like, it's not a reliable thing to think of and a reliable marker of progress when you're lifting weights. It doesn't automatically mean that the workout was effective with weightlifting. What really matters is applying that progressive overload, really focusing on that RPE, on that effort level. That's what really matters. Your training when it comes to lifting weights should feel difficult. Yes. It should feel challenging, not impossible, but challenging. But it should generally feel like you have 1 to 3 reps left in the tank, unless we have specified otherwise to you. That is where strength progress happens. That is where muscle building happens. And it really is kind of as simple as that when it comes to lifting weights. The golden rules of weightlifting, these are a few non-negotiables. So honor your rest times between sets. Focus on your form before whacking loads of weight on. Do not get in the habit of ego lifting and thinking I need as much weight on this bar as possible to lift well. You would be much better off lifting a bit lighter, but having good form, good control, lifting safely, having more time under tension, more of a range of motion. That will get you better results rather than ego lifting and just whacking loads of weight on a bar or picking up the heaviest dumbbells you can lift. Tracking your lifts, obviously for you guys, this is great because this is all done for you in Everfit. You just have to turn up, press play, and log your weights. That's fabulous. But this is a golden rule as well. Another golden rule, send us videos for form feedback. Those of you guys that do it regularly, shock, you guys go on to progress the most. You guys get stronger the fastest, and you get more confident in the gym fastest. That's because you are sending us videos regularly. A lot of people have this misconception with online coaching that because it's online, there is no way that you can have your form corrected or you can be pushed in the gym. It's not the case. Adam and I were in-person PTs for years. We went online for a specific reason. But all you have to do is just send us videos. You can be discreet with this. I know that the idea of whacking out a massive tripod in the middle of a gym in front of everyone and filming yourself isn't the most appealing. I don't do that, and I wouldn't expect you guys to do that either. But what I would suggest is if you go in with a friend, like Adam and I always go into the gym together. So sometimes if we're filming for our coaches and sending our coaches videos, um, I will film Adam, Adam will film me. But if we go in on our own, I will literally just get a dumbbell, put it in the corner where I'm lifting. I will prop my phone up just against the dumbbell and then I'll just hit record. It really can be discreet as that. No one notices. You don't get in anybody's way. No one thinks anything of you, and literally nobody notices. The people that succeed the most in this program are the people that send form videos regularly. They learn to lift safely, they learn to lift confidently. Their strength goes through the roof compared to the people that don't. So if you're somebody that is maybe a bit scared to send videos at the moment, I understand. I used to feel the same. I used to be very underconfident in the gym. I didn't like being in there, and I thought, why on earth would I start filming myself? Once I learned this and I started doing this with my coach, it worked super well. And lo and behold, I progressed a lot faster. We would never ask you guys to do things that we wouldn't do ourselves, never. But we do this every week for our coaches, so you guys can definitely do this as well. And I want to make it really clear that we love seeing the videos as well. So make sure that if you don't do it now, start to do it. Next thing, don't rush your sets, don't rush through the reps, bouncing up and down. Try to have control, try to really think about and focus and get in the zone, and be consistent week to week as much as you can with your workouts. Obviously, you guys don't have to be perfect. You're going to miss a couple of workouts here and there. You guys are people with full lives, but just try to be consistent and get in the gym and get all your workouts done every week as much as you can. These rules make progressive overload work really easily. They prevent you getting injured and they also just prevent soreness. Quite often, if you are not consistent with the training, not honoring these things, and you're coming away from workouts sore all the time, it's quite often because you're either not doing this stuff or you're being inconsistent week to week with your workouts as well. You'll maybe do one week, one the other week, none that week, then you'll do two, then you'll do one. That's quite often why soreness comes in as well. So it's really important. Rest times really matter because it allows your muscles to recover so that you can lift well again. If you rush your rest time, your performance drops down, you won't be able to lift as heavier, and as a byproduct, your progress will slow down. Typical rest times for your compound lifts. So compound lifts are lifts that incorporate multiple muscle groups at once. So squats, bench press, deadlifts, anything like that that's working multiple muscle groups. You're going to be resting for an average about 90 seconds to 2 minutes. Isolation lifts, so lifts that work just one muscle group, i.e., a bicep curl, a tricep extension, a leg extension, a leg curl. Isolation, you need a bit less because you're using less muscles, 60 to 90 seconds. Rest is part of the workout, so don't skip over it. Even if you are rushed for time, I promise you you'll get better results if you do this. Tracking your lifts. You can't apply progressive overload if you don't know what you did last week. So make sure that you are always logging your weights and putting the reps that you've done into Everfit. Your logbook becomes your roadmap. The app does all the remembering for you week to week, which is fabulous. You don't have to remember, and it takes a lot of that decision fatigue and a lot of that brain power away, which is fab. One thing I want to make clear as we kind of head to the end of this, strength progress is never linear. Some weeks you will feel really strong. You will lift more, you will feel stronger, but other weeks, sometimes it feels like for no apparent reason at all, you will not feel that way. You will either maintain the weights that you've lifted before, maybe you'll have to go down a bit because you'll feel slightly weaker. Your RPE, like an 8 out of 10 one week, is going to feel very different to an 8 out of 10 on another week. This is very normal. Strength progress, and progress is never linear for anything. But your progress is measured over months and not single sessions. So if you do have those weeks where you come away like, oh my God, I had it last week. Last week I had the worst week of training ever. Like everything felt so heavy. I was actually very close to getting my period. So like everything felt heavy. I couldn't lift my normal weights that I lifted the week before. I was really pissed off. And sometimes you just have days like that, like you just have that. But it does make you appreciate the strong sessions and the sessions where you feel incredible a lot more. Try not to just think of the single sessions and beat yourself up about that. It's about zooming out and thinking of that progress over a long period of time. The real goal when it comes to weightlifting and when you're working with us, the goal is not to destroy yourself every single workout. Like I said, that's a one-way ticket for injury and burnout. But the goal is making slight improvements over a long period of time. Small improvements repeated weekly lead to massive strength changes. That's your real goal, and that's how you really want to be tackling your workouts. Final thoughts. You don't need overly complicated training systems. You don't need to know all the ins and outs and all like the kind of the bro science. But what you do need to remember is that you need to challenge your muscles, you need to track your lifts, and you just need to focus on improving something each week from one of those four things when it comes to progressive overload. Send videos for feedback. If you don't do it now, give it a try. Do it to be pushed and to become more confident in the gym. If you do this consistently, you will get stronger. You will see your strength goals go through the roof. Not only will you see the changes that you want to see physically, but you will see so many amazing mental benefits that come from that as well. There is no feeling like getting stronger in the gym and what that does for your self-esteem and your self-confidence. There's really nothing like that. And it's also when it comes to strength training, it's about doing something difficult regularly every week. Like if you train 3 times a week, 3 times a week, you show up at the gym, even on the days that you don't want to do it, and you put yourself through something that is meant to push you and that is meant to challenge you and is meant to be hard. What that does for you as a person mentally, I think massively outweighs any physical benefit. It makes you so much better at dealing with stress when it comes up in your everyday life. It makes you have such high respect for yourself. It makes you incredibly self-resilient. And all in all, it makes you so much more confident and have so much more belief in yourself as well. And I can say that from personal experience. As you guys know, I didn't start off as somebody that liked the gym. I didn't step foot into a gym or do any form of exercise apart from dance until I was 21. I left halfway through my first workout that I ever did. I cried. I vowed I'd never go back in, but I did because I knew that it was good for me and I knew it was going to be good for my health. If you guys could see the person that I was before I started lifting, I was so incredibly different. Obviously, I'm not perfect now by any means, but I used to be so incapable of dealing with pressure and dealing with stress. I would get so easily overwhelmed. I had very, very little self-confidence, very hard on myself, very down. I had zero self-belief and very little self-worth, to be honest with you. The gym has completely transformed my mindset with that. And I know for a fact that I am a better person for lifting weights and for getting into the gym and reminding myself daily that I can do hard things. So that's what I want to leave you guys with and think, yes, of course, you guys are here because you want to change physically, but those mental changes are the things that really count and really matter and the things that you really want to be chasing. Great to have so many of you on the call this week. I've really enjoyed talking about this with you guys and talking a little bit more about lifting. Have a lovely evening. If any of you guys do have any questions, you know where I am. Drop me a message one-to-one, whether you're listening live or listening back to this on YouTube on the following day. But have an amazing evening, guys, and I will look forward to catching up with all of you guys tomorrow.